welcome back to another video recorded episode of Third Eye with Lorelei. Thank you guys so much for coming back and checking things out this time around and seeing what I've been up to. So this episode, which I'm super excited about, I'm actually going to show you some of the crystals that I have this week, which I actually had this crystal for a few months and I absolutely love it. So I included it with both my crystal of the week and my Lorelei's picks for this week. So really excited for you guys to see it. So also I wanted to thank Miss Julie Lyons for giving me the idea for this episode. And she had given me this idea months ago, not super long time ago, I think like November. And I absolutely loved it. So I'm really excited to introduce the 3D, 4D, and 5D topic to you guys today because it is super fascinating and interesting. I initially had recorded it and I was in my Prius, and if you guys are Prius owners or if you've ever been in a Prius, it tends to power off and then, power back up again. And it just made this horrible sound on the microphone. And I'm like, that's really annoying. I think I'm going to have to re-record it. So here we are, and in a much better situation, I feel, because then you guys can actually see the crystal that we're talking about and we can actually look at each other face to face. So at any rate, let's talk about the crystal of the week. So I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so, it's my book. Okay. So this is what we're going to be looking at. We are going to be looking at lepidolite. Now, lepidolite looks very close to amethyst. You can see by a lot of the purple that's in it. It's very, very pretty. This is the polished lepidolite, obviously. See, it's kind of dark in the background, but that's why I'm holding it up. And this is the raw lepidolite. Super pretty, right? So, and here is one more polish. This one looks a little bit darker. This one I almost thought was amethyst when I looked at it. And I was like, oh, no, it's lepidolite. Okay. And this one is a bracelet. I usually wear this when I sleep because that's one of the amazing things about lepidolite is it helps with insomnia and sleep. So I don't know if you guys can see that super duper well. Maybe I can turn up the light a little bit. Nah, that's all right. We're cool. At any rate, let's talk about lepidolite. So as I usually do, I like to read from this is my Crystal, there we go, Crystal for Beginners Bible by Judy Hall. And this is what she has to say about lepidolite. So it comes in obviously purple. It also comes in pink colors. It's usually has like plate-like layers to it. I don't know if you can see that in this one in particular, but it tends to look layered, kind of like a cake. They're slightly shiny or grainy mass, and they come in all sizes. They're easily obtained, and they're usually in the United States, the Czech Republic, Brazil, Madagascar, and the Dominican Republic. Okay, so the attributes of lepidolite are it clears electromagnetic pollution and should be placed on computers to absorb their emanations. When lepidolite takes mica-like form, its properties are they're greatly amplified, and this is the most efficient mopping up tool. Lepidolite insists on being used for the highest good. It dissipates negativity. It activates and opens the throat, third eye, and heart and crown chakras. It clears out blockages and brings cosmic awareness. The stone aids in shamanic or spiritual journeying and accesses the Akashic record. It tunes you in to thoughts and feelings from other lives that are creating a blockage in your life now. It can take you forward into the future. Lepidolite is extremely useful in the reduction of stress and depression. It halts obsessive thoughts and relieves despondency and overcomes insomnia. Lepidolite contains lithium and is helpful in stabilizing mood swings, and bipolar disorders. It is excellent for overcoming any kind of emotional or mental dependency, supportive in releasing from addictions and complaints of all kinds, including anorexia. As a stone of transition, it releases and reorganizes old psychological and behavioral patterns, inducing change. Lepidolite encourages independence and achieving goals without outside help. Mentally, lepidolite stimulates the intellect and analytic qualities. With its power of objectivity and concentration, it speeds up decision making. Lepidolite focuses on what is important, filtering out extraneous distractions. Emotionally, lepidolite enhances standing in your own space, free from the influences of others. It is a calming stone that soothes sleep disturbances and emotional stress, bringing deep emotional healing. For healing, lepidolite locates the site of dis-ease. Placed on the body over an area of dis-ease, it vibrates gently. Lepidolite relieves allergies, strengthens the immune system, restructures DNA, and enhances the generation of negative ions. It relieves exhaustion, epilepsy, and Alzheimer's. It numbs sciatica and neuralgia and overcomes joint problems. It is a detoxifier for the skin and connective tissues. Lepidolite is excellent for the menopause. Why does it say the menopause? Maybe just menopause. Excellent for menopause, especially as a gem elixir. It treats illnesses caused by sick building syndrome or computer stress. To position, you want to place or wear as appropriate, or place under your pillow for relief from sleep disturbances. Okay, so that is lepidolite. And for Lorelei's picks, I thought lepidolite and amethyst paired quite beautifully. And the reason for that is because lepidolite and amethyst are both anxiety relievers, and they're also really good amplifiers. So one of the things I kind of picked up with both lepidolite and amethyst is that they enhance intuition and facilitates communication. And in the healing properties of both stones, they both clear the mind of negative thoughts, anxiety. Both of them are very calming and soothing, and they give relief from stress, anxiety, and depression. Now, just remember that lepidolite contains lithium in it. So just be careful if you have any sort of sensitivities or anything like that. If you already take lithium for depression or any kind of mood disorder, this may be helpful, but just be careful with that. So here I have 2 amethyst stones for you guys to look like. Amethyst is a pretty well-known stone, so I'm sure most of you already know what it looks like, but I figured just a comparison would be really good. So this is a amethyst, a really small amethyst geode next to a lepidolite. Do you see why I feel like they're pretty similar? Now, obviously, the amethyst is a lot more brilliant purple. And this one is the polished amethyst. So there is some differences, but here's that really super purple lepidolite next to the amethyst. Now you kind of see why. I'm like, ooh, is that amethyst or is it lepidolite? So at any rate, that is the lepidolite is the crystal of the week, and amethyst and lepidolite for anxiety and depression and also stress relief and insomnia, and also to amplify intuition and increase communication is my picks of the week. So anyway, moving on, we're going to go back to just me. And hello, here we are. Okay, so the next thing is the quote of the week. So let's check that out. Now I couldn't find the actual author of this quote, so it's just from Fearless Soul. And the quote is, "No dream is too big when you truly understand abundance is your birthright." There we go. So that was the quote of the week. So now let's just skate right on into the topic of the week. And again, Julie, thank you so much for messaging me on Instagram and telling me that this is something you really want to talk about. I'm just super jazzed to talk about this because it really is super interesting to learn about all the different densities and dimensions that we can move in and out of, especially speaking in our vibrational awareness. I'm going to drink I have some tea here. Keep things nice and warm and lubricated. It's actually just lemon and orange in hot water because That sounded great. And it actually tastes amazing. So get yourself some. It's great. Okay. So I'm using a online article for the 3D, 4D, and 5D, the dimensions and their differences. And this is the Wake Up Experience. And it is written by Vera. That's it. It just says Vera on October 8th, 2016. And I'm just going to go straight into the third dimension and then go up to fourth and fifth dimension. And I'll kind of add in my little pieces here and there. So let's talk about the lower dimension, which is the 3D or the third dimension. So the third dimension is kind of where most people are right now. It is mostly just like centered around our ego and the acknowledgement of ourselves and living within just sort of this, on earth existence. Like it's nothing like really, it's just sort of like going from a animal to a being that kind of understands the concept of self and other people and that sort of thing. At least that would be and then we're moving into so the 3D is also materials. So it's the things that, we all enjoy on this, and it still kind of like connects us as a, just our egotistical selves, that sort of thing. Okay, so the 3D is, describes how she will only get out with, so she quotes Madonna in the beginning. She says, "Because we are living in a material world and I am a material girl." Madonna pictures the third dimension pretty perfectly in her song. She describes how she will only go out with guys that have money to buy her things and how she fears losing her money once she got into that state of possessions. The third dimension is all about material, accumulating material and living in fear of losing it again. We fear to lose control. We fear to not be secure and to not be good enough. We don't trust people because they could take our wealth away from us. So we try to reach power over others to be in a stronger position. We define ourselves on this plane by what we possess and what we do for a living. We believe to be separated from God and from everyone and everything. As long as we are not one with Source, we cannot experience oneness with all that is. We believe that death is something painful, dark, and finite. We believe that we live one life, and that is it. We believe this world to be a place of scarcity. Therefore, we think we have to fight hard for our well-being because there is not enough for everyone. We think that life is supposed to be a competition with winners and losers. We think that it is okay to lie because everyone does it in the end game, or in this game, actually. We are convinced that we have to be right about things. We believe in certain roles for men and women, men being the strong provider and fighter, women being the weak caretaker. This has been changing with the rising of the feminine during the past decades. But the true nature of masculine and feminine still have not been fully understood. With regards to relationship and sex, we believe that we cannot be whole without another person. And we talked about this recently with the codependency episode, that is actually a huge fallacy, right? We experience joy in very rare occasions, in situations of breathtaking beauty, be it in nature or during a sexual orgasm. These are the rare moments that take us into the now, the only place where the ego does not exist. We're so used to the ego that we don't question whether it is normal that we spend all of our time in the past or in the future. The ego plays the should have, could have, would have game in the past or jumps into the future playing the let's create scenarios game to be prepared for any possibility. We don't see that the only real place to be is in the now. Okay, so you guys kind of see and you're catching the gist of what the 3D is. I almost relate it to being in like a caveman type experience, right? Because that was a state of scarcity. It's like, you only have what you have collected. You only have what you have power over. And right now, in this circumstance, we have a tremendous amount of abundance. I mean, there are many people that have less than others. but to acknowledge the fact that we have more than just, the money that's in our bank account and the clothing that's on our back. There is more to it than just those material things, I believe is what they're trying to say. And I think it's time for orange and lemon tea. Okay, and we're moving forward. Okay, so humans in the third dimension crave physical sex so much because that is the only opportunity for them to experience the merging of the masculine and the feminine energies in perfect balance. That is the root cause for this desire. In the third dimension, we do not understand that this is where the neediness for a partner comes from. We don't understand that we can create this wholeness for ourselves. We cannot imagine that sexual desires can change from need to a sharing. In the third dimension, we have never learned to love ourselves. On the contrary, we were taught to believe that this is the egotistic. Sorry, I almost said egoistic. I guess that's the same thing. The opposite is the case. Not loving yourself is egoistic thinking or this egoistic thinking, and is what keeps you from being whole and keeps the void within us alive. Energetically, the third dimension is a place of very low vibration and enhances the illusion of separation, duality, and free will. In 3D, only one timeline or reality is available, and we live with this construct and illusion of the ego mind of linear time. Our higher self is not integrated into the physical body because it cannot handle the density and low frequency. It is connected with us through our spiritual body, but when our energy centers are blocked, it hardly can get through to us. So in other words, let's say, for instance, remember how I was saying that actually, no, you guys don't know. So whenever you have an energy body like let's say your third eye is blocked, you're not able to see things clearly, maybe you're constantly in a state of brain fog or whatever, those are what they're talking about, these energy bodies having a block, your heart center being blocked or your solar plexus being blocked. We've talked about those in past episodes where you have these sensations of not being able to do what you need to do in flow state because you have blocked energy centers. So when you have those blocks, it can be hard to connect with your higher self and raise your energy levels up and your vibration up. That causes the belief that we are separated from God and that God is an outside entity or power. In 3D, we actually think that our life is based on coincidences and that there is no destiny, as we are not aware of our true identity. A spiritual being in a physical body suffering from amnesia. As we incarnate into the third dimension, we forget who we truly are and get equipped with an ego mind that is only serving for this incarnation. It cannot remember any of our previous lives because it has not been there with us. Only our cellular structure and DNA carries memories from our family lineage, and our soul or higher self knows about our own experiences in past lives. As long as the ego mind is in the lead and our heart is closed, the connection to our soul is blocked most of the time. The communication with our higher self and the higher realms can only be felt, not understood with the rational mind. So that's the whole concept of leading with your heart and not with your head. Because your brain is sort of your connection with the earth. It is of the earth, right? It's made up of all the things that the earth is made of. It's, connected that way, and it keeps your feet on the ground and helps you to think rationally, keeps you safe. But this is your connection to the divine and your higher self at the same time. Obviously, this is your communication with your divine, your crown. But this is where you interpret and where you take it in also with your higher self communication as well. Okay, let me see if I can find my spot again. Let's see. Oh, yes. As long as we are cut off, we cannot feel the truth. We believe our ego mind is supposed to be in the lead as it is oh so clever. And yes, it is. In keeping us away from our true self and in keeping up the illusions, every time our intuition comes through and expresses our truth, the ego mind shouts out, prove it. Or my favorite is, that's crazy. That's impossible. How many times have you guys said that to yourself? Like, that's crazy. That's silly. It's coming up in my head. It's not true. That can't be real. It can't be real. So we shut down again. as we are unable to prove what we feel. We continue to run around blindfolded, trying to figure out how life works and what we are actually doing. We believe we find the answers to our quest for happiness externally, outside of us. We adapt to the game and accept the 3D illusions as our reality, because everyone does. We suppress the questions about our purpose, our true origin, and our talents and gifts. We must be mistaken to have these questions, because everybody else is living according to the same rules. If we would speak out loud our doubts and our true desires, we would just be considered to be insane and an unrealistic dreamer. So we just stick with the system, not realizing that we have been enslaved as our ego mind has been programmed with all kinds of false beliefs. We do not see that the whole system is a fake matrix based on fear. Is anybody else kind of picturing Neo in your head? And Morpheus and Trinity? Sorry. It's a really good movie series. I really loved it. But anyway, I digress. As long as people are in fear, you can keep them under control and make money with them. Lots of money. Insurances, pharmaceuticals, and fashions are just a couple of examples of how a lot of money is made with our fears. And we need to make more and more money to be able to compensate for those fears. We think we have to improve our status again and again to be good enough and earn respect. We don't even realize how much the material world and our possessions are controlling us and are keeping us in dependency. We need to protect what we have reached and make it even more to be prepared for worse times. In the third dimension, we're thinking negative thoughts and we are mistrusting everyone and everything. The illusion of duality in the third dimension allows us to experience light and darkness, good and bad, joy and despair. Better and worse. We have the choice to act as saints or demons. Oof. I don't know about you guys, but that kind of got me. It's like, you have a choice to be good or evil, basically. I mean, how many times have you come into contact with people? I mean, there's probably not a whole lot of people out there that just want to hurt, but they're out there, and it's sad and scary because this is the choice. So you have a choice in the matter of choosing to be a healing light and a loving light, or to hurt and to keep hurting and living in that cycle. That is actually the only choice we have on this plane: love or fear, light or darkness. That is what free will allows us. As long as we are choosing fear, we are repeating our experiences and patterns until we learn to choose love. That is the beauty of the third dimension. Once we learn to choose love permanently, we come to what the spiritual world would refer to as enlightenment. As our frequency raises significantly once we do so, we stay in the field of light and of love. That way, we overcome our ego mind's limits. We learn to let our heart and soul take over the lead in transforming our ego into a free spirit. We learn how the universal energies work and how we can create our reality. I love that. How are you creating your own reality in this situation, in this lifetime? How are you creating it, and what does it look like? Because you are the artist in this beautiful painting. We just did not see it. Oh, did I miss my spot? We learned. Oh, yeah. We understand that we have the steering wheel in front of us all the time. And now we'll understand what that phrase meant. We just did not see it. We didn't see the steering wheel. We learned that there are no victims or perpetrators. There are only teachers or mirrors that help us see what we need to see about ourselves and help us grow. We do not have to wait until we die to go into the light. We can do that while being in a human body. Do you guys see why I chose this article? It is like, tea break. Okay. And now we're moving on from the third dimension to the fourth dimension. This one's a really fun one. 4D and 5D. They're delicious. Okay. The fourth dimension is the magical dream world. I hear some of you squeeing. I squeed a little bit. Magical dream world, let's do it. So the fourth dimension is the spiritual dream world. It is also called the astral plane. It is the home of the spiritual and conspiracy narratives. Oh, okay. The galactics, the archangels, the dragons, the reptilians, Atlantis, Lemuria, the shadow government, the cabal, etc. It is a dimension that is less dense and more fluid than the third dimension. It is, but it still has only one timeline, so it's still in reality. It hosts the illusions of duality, the spiritual ego, and thus fear is able to exist also here. 4D is still perceived from the outside in, and we still believe we are driven and endangered by outside reality. Linear time becomes a lot more fluid here. Imagine it to be a stream of energy hosting all events of one particular timeline, the same timeline that is available in the third dimension. We usually visit this plane naturally during the night. Here, in our dream states, anything is possible. A mouse can be transformed into a lion. We can fly or breathe underwater. We can be in many places at the same time and have conversations with the weirdest creatures. We can travel into the past and into the future. Experienced astral travelers are able to access this plane also during the day. This can become so real that they're actually experiencing out-of-body adventures or intense sexual encounters. Damn. I kind of want to experience that a little bit. That sounds interesting. Okay, anyway. This is the plane that shamans and ancient civilizations travel to find out more and connect to the spiritual realms. These journeys gave them access to the underworld and the upper world. Many of them used drugs, plant medicine, and special trance ceremonies to get there. Depending on the energetic vibration of people, traveling in the astral plane can be a very loving and exciting, or a very scary and fearful experience. Spiritual drugs will never take us above the fourth dimension. Nevertheless, traveling the astral plane can be very insightful to learn more about ourselves, about our purpose, and also about our fears, as we can get into close exchange with our higher self there. No matter how far we travel in this dimension, we always stay in this particular timeline or storyline. On this plane, it is also possible to tap into the collective consciousness through the altered mind state and learn more from there. The astral realm is a place where light and darkness come into conflict easily. Dark magic has its place here. Dreamwalkers, for example, can influence us on this plane easily when we are still full of fear and have not learned yet to set healthy energetic boundaries, i.e., when we are able to create our own light and sustain it so that it simply absorbs the darkness. Most people do not remember their astral experiences consciously, which makes it even harder to detect energetic manipulations. Ooh, it's a little ominous. Okay. The fourth dimension connects darkness and light. On this plane, we can protect us only by applying the energetic universal laws, as there are no human laws or regulations for control. We still have not realized that there is no need to protect in the higher dimensions of unconditional love. Protection is a fear-based reaction. When our frequency is naturally high, protection becomes irrelevant, as we don't create any fear-based situations in our outside reality anymore. Now that is very interesting, because how many times have we talked about protect yourself and protect your energetic body and protect other people from entering and setting up loving boundaries? I suppose in a way, instead of looking at it as like a place of fear, which is what this is clearly saying, is that, everything is, protection is based on fear. If you're vibrating high enough, you don't have to worry about protecting yourself because there's no place for it any longer. I really love that. I hope you guys like that. I like that a lot. Okay. On that note, people of higher frequency are not experiencing the astral plane consciously at all. That is why they often feel alone or think they imagine their awakening and ascension, because they don't have all these crazy experiences other people get so excited about. These people's body frequency is already higher than the fourth dimensional frequency from birth on. Whew. I think I've experienced some of those people where you just get into their space and you're just like, "Ooh," and you get really shaky because it's like they're vibrating like way up here, and I'm still kind of like, judging myself and others down here. And then you enter their space and you're just like, oh, and they're just amazing. Have you guys experienced that? Let me know if you experienced it. It's crazy. That is why they often feel alone or think they imagine their awakening and ascension, because they don't have, I already said all that. This is what happens when I go off on a tangent and stop looking at what I'm reading and then forget where I'm at. Okay. These people's body frequency is already higher than the fourth dimension frequency from birth on. Higher frequency people often experience an unexplainable fatigue during their whole 3D existence, because the difference between the dense 3D frequencies and the much lighter 5D frequencies causes a permanent friction, and the body has a hard time to deal with it. They go through 3D programming just as everyone, although they often have a much stronger feeling of, this is not right, what is happening here, and are questioning and sabotaging the system often. A lot of higher frequency people look back on alcohol and drug careers because they are not able to cope with the density well, and they're denying their spiritual gifts and talents. They just want to be normal and fit in an earlier stage of life. The problem, drugs and alcohol are of much lower frequency than their bodies that can cause permanent anxieties, depression, and even real horror trips when using a drug or plant medicine, as their field contracts instead as it is already more expanded. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong or not, but it sounds weird. Either way, let's just keep moving on. Okay. Higher frequency people do not experience nightmares. They don't? Okay. They can have panic attacks and thought spirals before going to sleep or when they are half awake dozing. But their dreams, if they remember them at all, are taking place in a 5D and above. Those dreams cannot contain fear or darkness, as those are the planes of unconditional love. They are experiencing their ascension differently, in a much more subtle, heartfelt way. Once their awakening is initiated and they open up to their spirituality, the process usually happens faster than average, and they cleanse the 3D programming quite quickly, as their system wants to return to its natural frequency as quickly as possible once initiated. They're usually claircognizant, meaning that all of a sudden they know things without knowing why. That is because they have access to other timelines and dimensions. Usually that happens unconsciously. They simply lose a few minutes and feel cold and confused after such an experience. There's no better or worse of being of high frequency or not. The experiences are simply different. So that is 4D. And it's time for my orange and lemon. I didn't give you the thumbs up that time. It was really good. Okay. Moving into the fifth dimension, the plane of light. All of the higher dimensions, the fifth dimension is the last one of pure light and unconditional love, or i.e. source energy on the way down before entering the realms of limitations and duality. This is the dimension beyond linear time. That means that many different timelines and realities are available to access. Have you ever watched a movie and or a show, and they go into an astral travel state, like it's a dream walker or something, and they're able to access, you see all these different little dream blurbs or lifetimes or whatever, and if you focus on one, you go there. No? I've experienced that. I thought it was really cool. And if you guys watch Supernatural, I just watched that, and that's what happened, and it was really interesting, and that's what I thought of. So anyway, I'm doing that thing that I do again where I loop trail. Anyway, reality is perceived consciously as our own creation from the inside out. Physical existence is still possible on this plane, although the body is lighter and of a different cellular structure. When the physical body is fully transformed into this structure, there is no pain. Further, there is no fear. It is the plane of unconditional love and abundance. Of abundance, manifest in the physical. Our higher self can be fully integrated into our physical body and has taken over the guidance. This feels very differently from just channeling the higher self or other entities. The first time your higher self moves into the physical body fully is quite overwhelming. It is an intense energetic flow of unconditional love, and everything feels light and at ease. Before the higher self can be fully anchored into the physical body, the healing of all bodies, the mental, the emotional, and the physical healing equals remembering our wholeness, which I think remembering is the biggest piece here. Remembering all of it has to be completed. Therefore, your higher self will slip in and out for a while until it can move in permanently. You will know when your higher self is integrated, when you do not question the universal flow and simply trust your journey. You do not feel the need to interfere or control that flow anymore. In the fifth dimension, all of our actions are based on love. It is the plane of oneness, where we feel the connection to everyone and everything around us, including the Holy Source energy. In the fifth dimension, we live in unity consciousness, but still recognize ourselves as individuals, as part of the whole. We do not feel that we get information from guides, angels, or star family through channeling anymore. Now it comes much more intuitively and subtle from within as we have become one with all that is. In the beginning, it feels as if we were disconnected until we get used to this new way of being connected. On this plane, we remember who we truly are and are aware of our eternal soul. Manifestation is easy, and the life of our dreams is our reality. In 5D, everything comes without an effort, as we have rediscovered that the universal energetic flow always guides us perfectly. There are no limits. We live in complete freedom and authenticity. We share unconditionally, and there is no fear. There's no aging and no illnesses. We live as long as we want until we decide to leave the body. This happens smoothly and without any pain. Living in 5D means living from the heart. We connect through our heart and can feel the connection and love instantly. In the fifth dimension, our sexual desires change as we have reached our internal balance between the masculine and the feminine energies. I thought this particular part was really interesting. So we have become androgynous energetically. Sexual energies can be experienced without physical contact with others. They can be created by the individual. Therefore, sex does not happen out of the neediness or lust anymore, but becomes a sharing between two whole people that resonate on the same energetic level. Or it is experienced alone and is just as beautiful. I thought that was really interesting. In addition, the third energy, the divine energy, is part of this experience, and sexuality becomes the Holy Trinity in perfect equilibrium. So the third energy it's not the same thing as 3D. Just putting that out there, okay? So part of the experience and sexuality becomes the Holy Trinity in perfect equilibrium. It is the most powerful energy of creation. Therefore, it is not surprising that sex in 3D was defined to be something shameful and sinful, to keep people from discovering their true creative power. Once someone has raised their own frequency onto a 5D level, the return to the lower dimensions is not possible anymore, unless the soul chooses it consciously, which, why would you ever want to do that? I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I would never want to do that. Why? It seems like this is like you're reaching a level of perfection. Like, why would you want to change it? Anyway, this was the choice a lot of star seeds and angelic beings took to help humanity ascend. That's why. And now I answer my own question. Okay, so they do not attract any darkness and live in the light exclusively. They cannot be seen by people in 3D if they have not already started their own ascension process and are open to the higher frequencies. That is when duality and linear time are dissolving and all there is left is a life in the now. All experiences are embraced with gratitude, as the soul knows that everything has its purpose for the own growth and expansion of consciousness. Contact to extraterrestrials and angelic beings become easy and is integrated in the daily experience. We receive information directly from source, and telepathy, teleportation, and telekinesis become possible. That sounds very interesting. We realize that we are an aspect of source and we were never separated. I love that. The fifth dimension is the dimension of deep trust and inner knowing that everything is happening perfectly. On this plane, we have learned to go with the flow and let source work through us to create miracles. There's no need to be right in 5D, as there is no ego. Our ego has transcended into a free spirit and is working hand in hand with body and soul. In the fifth dimension, we do not take anything personally anymore from people who are not able to align with that plane yet. We know about their own baggage and journey and do not judge them or blame them, but love them unconditionally, as we know they are part of the whole. We know that there is no danger, so we know that there is no need for protection. We know that our light shines so bright that it absorbs the darkness automatically. In 5D, we live according to the universal energetic laws, knowing that we create what we think. There are no man-made rules or laws because people fully trust the energetic flow and where it takes and guides them to. There's no need for possessions or statutes, as there is no competition and nothing to compare. Everything becomes an unconditional sharing. We just are. We love ourselves and appreciate our individuality as part of the whole. We know that our needs are always met and we are always taken care of. Gratitude is always present. When we live in 5D permanently, when we live in 5D permanently, we have our, this is a very strangely worded sentence. Hold, please. When we live in 5D permanently, we are in a state of enlightenment. I think they just put have in there. Whatever. No wonder that it is referred to as heaven on earth. So that's it, you guys. That is the article. And I absolutely love this because for the most part, when you hear of 3D, 4D, and 5D, you want to understand what all of that means, right? So I love this article for that because they really place it out there beautifully to understand what it all means. And it really is a tiered process. I mean, obviously 3D, 4D, 5D. So I kind of envision 5D as the Christ consciousness, the place of unconditional love. And once you go up from there, it's just like, the concept of oneness just becomes one thing. You know what I mean? It's just pure undivided light in a way. So anyway, you guys, that is pretty much it. That covers all of the topic. And thank you again so much, Julie, for bringing up this topic. It was such an interesting thing for me to discover and read about, and I hope all of you love it too, because it is truly fascinating to learn about all these things and the reason why we want to increase our vibration and make things better so that we can actually access unconditional love and not be afraid and not need protection from anything because our light completely overcomes all other darkness. Time for some lemon and orange. And that's pretty much it, you guys. So I hope that you loved this. I love coming out and talking with you guys with this. I'm starting to get the hang of the video thing, so hopefully we'll have a few more of these. At any rate, I look forward to talking to you again next week. I have a couple more interviews, and I'm so excited for you guys to listen to them because they are so amazing and interesting. So at any rate, I love you all so much. Thank you for coming in and seeing me, and I really look forward to talking to you again next week. And until then, love and light to you all.